Butterfly out in the sun. You know what I mean, don't you know? Dragonfly is having fun. You know what I mean. Freedom is mine. I know how I feel. It's a new world, and this old world is a bold world for us. And we're feeling good. Happy Freedom Day. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. I am Karen A. Clark with City National Bank, and I have a great lineup of panelists with me today, and we are going to talk about financial freedom. Freedom means so many things, and this is such a great celebration today. Thank you, Hannibal Media, and thank you, City National Bank. Thank you, Black Arts LA, and all of the other sponsors. Freedom is precious. This is a notion that we have been questing for since the beginning of humankind, and certainly since the beginning of enslavement of Black people here in the United States. So, just to set the context, we are going to be talking today about assets that can help you to be financially free. We're going to talk about your credit, your personal credit, your personal finance. We're going to talk about home. We're going to talk about building wealth through home ownership, through business ownership. And we're going to talk about the kinds of tools that you need to get there. And so let me just give you a little bit of history so that we're all on the same page and we have the context for this conversation. So you know, Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865, was when troops rode into Galveston, Texas, to let all of the slaves know that they were indeed free. And it wasn't until about 6 months later, when the 13th Amendment was signed, that actually banned slavery, chattel slavery in the United States. That is also when the slaves in Kentucky and Delaware were set free, almost 6 months after Juneteenth. And the 13th Amendment is what has allowed for mass incarceration, because the 13th Amendment said that slavery is outlawed, with the exception for the punishment of a crime. And so after the 13th Amendment was signed, many Black men were rounded up and they were arrested for the crime of not having a job, because, well, who's going to employ them? And that's when Black men began being farmed out to coal mines and to, servitude for farming and that sort of thing. But also, what President Lincoln did when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation is he established a Freedman's Bank. And the Freedman's Bank was specifically established to help freed slaves to grow their money. So it was a depository institute. And it was also set up to give financial education to freed slaves. And you may ask, where did they get their wages? And they got their wages. You had soldiers on both sides of the war, right? Black soldiers who had joined both sides of the Civil War. You also had women who were cleaning, who were taking care of babies. And then, of course, you had people that were working in factories as things began to open up. And certainly as Black people began leaving the South, seeking employment in other parts of the country. And so in a 9-year period, freed slaves saved in 37 branches of the Freedman's Bank what is today the equivalent of $12 million. And so we're going to talk about savings today. And I'm going to tell you who is with me, and then I'm going to have each of them tell you who they are more specifically and what they do and how they can help you. When we talk about the wealth gap is the difference between, generally speaking, the net worth of mainstream community, mainstream America, and Black folks. When we talk about that wealth gap between Black America and white America. And the wealth gap exists primarily because Black people have been locked out of home ownership for so many decades, because of segregation, because of redlining, which was actually established by the federal government. And the federal government established redlining to let realtors know where they could and where they could not sell property to Black people. And then you had this whole notion of contract homes when Black people were finally able to buy homes. Particularly in the Midwest, you had contract home sellers. And so a Black person could buy a home on contract, and it could be a 20-year note, it could be a 30-year note, whatever. But what that contract said is that if you missed one payment, or if you were late by one day on one payment, your home would revert back to the contract seller, even if you had already paid 10, 20 years. And so there was a lot of wealth that was eroded from the earliest, Black folks, in the millions and millions and millions of dollars that were taken away from the Black community. And so, we have been stifled from growing that wealth. And so the purchase of land and home ownership and the establishment of businesses is very, very important. And it's something we've missed out on for decades and decades and decades. And without that historical context in our families, without that second and third generational, business ownership and that wealth, it's been difficult for us to get the real training that we need to establish businesses, as also to buy homes. And so we're just going to go back to the basics today. And so let me tell you who I have with me. I'm going to talk about all of them briefly, and then I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves. But I've got Miss Colette Moore, who is a Vice President and Program Director at Pacific Coast Regional Corporation in Los Angeles. And I happen to sit on the board of directors there. We have Mr. Mark Morales, who is a Vice President of SBA Lending at City National Bank. So I have the pleasure of working with Mark. We also have Miss Yolandra McClinton, who has been a part of the Neighbor Works organization for over 20 years and now resides with the Family of Neighborhood Housing Services of LA as the pre-purchase team coordinator. And we have Miss Toni Jackson, whom I also have the pleasure of working with. Toni is a Vice President and Senior Client Manager in the Crenshaw District branch here in Los Angeles, which is very near and dear to my heart. And we have Mr. Eric Clay, who is a financial well-being coach at Operation Hope. I had the pleasure of working with Eric Clay at the nationally recognized Operation Hope, which is headquartered in Atlanta, but their previous headquarter and home and second home is here in Los Angeles. And if you go to operationshope.org, you can search for the Freedman's Bank and find much more information. You can go to the OCC, but you have to dig. You have to dig to find, you'll find the information about Freedman's Bank, but you have to dig to find the real story behind it. All right, so I want to turn it over first to Ms. Colette Moore to introduce herself, and then I will call on each of you to do the same.
Karen, hey, Colette's not on right now, so we can go to Mark.
I see everybody is coming up.
Karen, hey, can you hear me?
Let's see, as soon as I don't see Colette yet, let me go to Mr. Mark Morales. I think Colette and Yolandra are in the waiting room.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Mark Morales from City National Bank. I'm an SBA loan specialist. I have been doing SBA loans for small and diverse-owned businesses for a little over 20 years. And I pride myself on doing some of the largest African-American loans for City National Bank over the last 4 years.
Let me just remind the panelists, if you can hear me, make sure that you did log in through StreamYard.
Karen A. Clark, can you hear me?
Karen, can you hear me?
Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Eric.
I can hear
So I can see the
I'm
panel is buffering. I see their squares.
I'm just going to go ahead and while Karen's taking care of that, welcome everybody. Good morning, teams. I see you, Toni Jackson.
While we're waiting, I want to remind you to go to the schedule and make sure that you log into those things that are of interest to you. And I'm pleased to be on the stage again at 2:15, the Karen A. Clark Project. And I have some wonderful musicians with me, Mr. Richard 88 Fingers Turner, and I have Mr. Caleb Harrison on drums, and I have Mr. Michael Saucier on the bass. And we have a special tribute to Juneteenth.
So, Mark and Tony, you can still hear me, correct?
Yes.
But it seems
Yes.
as if Karen can't hear us.
You.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. Thank you for the introduction.
I see you all coming up.
So we're going to work through
How
this.
you doing?
What happens
Just
during
gonna say a quick prayer, because you know how Satan tries to enter.
I got you. Let me, I'm going to introduce myself real quick. I'm Eric Clay. I am with Operation Hope. I've been with Operation Hope for a while. As Karen said, we are a nonprofit organization that specializes in the language of money. What I do the credit piece. I like credit. I'm intimately involved with credit. I sit at Compton College for the last 6 years, and I get to educate our youth coming in from high
Stand by,
school.
our panelists are definitely trying to
And,
log in.
I'm going to turn it right now over to Miss Tony. Tony, you can introduce yourself. We're going to work through this.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Jackson. I'm the Senior Client Manager of the Crenshaw District Branch of City National Bank. I actually was a part of a 5-member team who opened the branch October 2017. And I am the one who takes care of all clients once your accounts are established. So I look forward to giving more information on when the panel comes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tony. And I'm going to send Karen a quick message saying that we all can hear each other, but we for some reason can't hear her. We'll fix this. And I know Greg. Thank you, Greg, for working on this. It's going to be, and plus, happy Saturday, happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Happy Juneteenth.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and Karen can't hear or see anyone.
Maybe we can have her log in with her phone instead of her computer.
I want to see it, brother. Okay, so we're gonna keep on with the show because I was going to go first, and until we
it's Karen.
We get it right. All right. Give it 1 second.
There we go. Thank you, sweetheart.
Hello, Colette. How are you?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello. This is Mission Control. We can hear you and see you all perfectly.
Great.
I can hear Karen when she's not on. She's on mute for now, but everybody is in place. On screen is Mark, Eric,
yes,
Tony, Colette,
yes,
and Karen just went black. She was there perfectly.
She can't hear us though, Greg. She can't hear us or see us.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. That's
so what we're gonna.
That's not on our system.
Okay. What we're gonna do is if you can message her, I'm gonna go ahead and deliver this, and then I'm gonna turn it over to, I believe, who was coming after me? Was it Yolandra?
Well, actually, I can go ahead and introduce myself. So thank you all so much. I'm Colette Moore. I'm with Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Development Center. So happy to have this program today on financial empowerment and financial freedom, which is the theme for today. As part of PCR SBDC and as the director, one of my roles is to help businesses to survive and succeed. And so we start as well, but survive has been the theme this year, and then so many may have been taken off course. So we provide those services to help businesses to grow. I have been a business owner myself for 8 years. I come from a line of business owners. I worked with my dad, had a juice company in Chicago with a partner. And also my husband has a business, a successful business supporting aerospace. And now our oldest son actually has a business called Airworthy Tours, where he is also a business owner doing drone work commercially. And so I love helping small businesses. Pacific Coast Regional has been around for 44 years doing just that, providing funding as well as support services and advisement for small businesses. And so I'm happy to be here today to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. So as we are waiting for Karen A to come back, I know I was going first, I keep saying that. We talk about financial freedom, and credit is so key when we talk about that. I just want to read the definition of credit. Credit, the noun definition, the ability of a customer to obtain goods and services before payment, based on the trust. That's the key word here, based on the trust that payment will be made in the future. So right there, that's saying that I am going to give you this item, I'm going to give you this merchandise, and you're going to pay me back. Now, in that definition, it's not showing the game in the definition because they never say the interest on what you purchased, and that's how creditors make their game. I want to say this before we say anything. Credit does not control your life. Your life controls credit. All right? Don't feel like if something happened in your life where you couldn't pay one of your creditors that you are not a good, worthy person. No, that's just called life, and life happens. And best believe that we have life happen in 2020 and even right now. Yes, indeed. So the credit report, when I look at it, tells a story. I look at it at the way it should be read, but no, other creditors look at it differently. So what controls the credit are the credit bureaus. You have the 3 credit bureaus. And I know if I'm talking basic layman's terms, bear with me, but just want to verify this. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Those are your 3 bureaus. Look at the bureaus as the principal of a school. Look at the creditors as a teacher, and look at us, the consumers, as students. As long as everything's going good between the teacher and the student, then there's no reason to involve the principal's office. Now, I know when I was coming up, and I born and raised in Los Angeles, I graduated from Dorsey High. Yeah, I made a couple of visits to the principal's office, which means I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And the creditor told the principal, who were the bureaus, the credit bureaus, on me. And that's what happens when we don't pay. We don't pay. If we don't pay our bill, then we get reported to the credit bureaus, and the credit bureaus collect this report, which I call the narrative. It's our story. It's our credit story. We want to take a look at our story. We want to make our story shine well. So when we go to want to borrow for a small business loan, for a home loan, anything along the line, even car loans, that we want our credit to shine and we want to look good on paper. That's looking good on paper. Once again, it doesn't really represent who we are as people, but that's what we want to do. So we have a scoring system. I talk about the FICO scoring system. That's what most lenders look at. FICO simply stands for Fair Isaac and Company. 2 gentlemen back in 1956, yes, I said 1956, developed a scoring algorithm that has since been used, and other folks try to duplicate it, but FICO scoring system, Fair Isaac, William Fair, Earl Isaac developed this scoring system. And now they're a company to the tune of almost 300 billion. Yeah, I said $300 billion. Okay, but like other things, people say, well, we don't have to use a FICO score. We can use a Vantage score. We can use a Beacon score. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian have their own scoring system. But as long as the lenders are looking at the FICO scoring system, that's what I teach on. And that goes from 300 to 850, 850 being the top. If you're at 730 and above, you're doing well. You're skating. You're doing good. So you want your score to be in the 700s. Now, if it's not there, we can get there. And that's a whole nother subject. What I do at Operation Hope is I actually take a look at the credit with no inquiry, no cost whatsoever. And I give you my opinion because I'm a credit well-being coach, not credit repair, credit counseling. I give you my opinion on what you need to do to build that narrative, to build that story into something that's going to be yes and not no. And it can happen. You can start your credit life out at any time, anytime. And how do you do it? Don't worry about the unspilled milk or the spilled milk. Let's worry about, or let's not even worry. Let's drive our credit, our good credit, and that's going to drive our good credit score, regardless of what happened in the past. Then we go backwards in the past. Now, I know I said a lot in a little bit, but credit is so key for us. And having good credit is so key in our financial freedom because that's one less thing that we can get denied for. If our credit's right, they gotta deal with that. Okay.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Hey, Karen A.
Hey, everybody. Sorry for the technical issues, but I am here. You know, Satan can't stop us. Now, thanks for all of that, Eric. It was a mouthful, but the good news is that you can contact every single person up here on this panel for your own personal consultation. All right. So even though all you got was the tip of the iceberg from Eric, you can get the full story, and it can be completely relatable to you. So make sure you get in touch with Eric Clay at operationhope.org. And we're going to come back to Eric, but now let me ask Yolandra. Yolandra, are you there? Did Yolandra make it in? We'll come back to Yolandra if not.
She hasn't made it in just yet, KC.
She hasn't made it in yet. Okay,
No.
So we'll get back to home ownership. Let's move on to entrepreneurship and small business ownership for a few minutes. And so we have the wonderful Colette Moore you heard, and the wonderful Mr. Mark Morales. Let me first talk to Mark. Mark, you work for the SBA department at City National Bank. And SBA, people associate that with a government agency, right? So tell us, let's just break it down. What is SBA? Why are banks engaged with SBA? What's an SBA loan? And how's it different from a regular loan? Let's just start with those basics.
Well, thank you, Karen. Yes, well, we should probably even say what SBA stands for, which is the Small Business Administration. And so the SBA, though it doesn't loan money directly and does support with disaster relief, and we've all heard about the PPP and EIDL programs, but the SBA works with commercial banks to provide, I'm going to talk about 3 of their major programs. The SBA 7A program, the 504 program, and the Community Advantage program. But the SBA loan is basically a loan that the bank would not have done without the support of the Small Business Administration, either through guarantees or, and in the case of real estate, going into second position behind the bank's first on a purchase or refinance of commercial real estate. So it's a loan that the bank wouldn't have done without that support. And that really is the basic of what SBA is. So I'd like to talk a little bit about each of the 3 programs that I'm going to concentrate on. Because I would like to tell you how they can help you build wealth, right? So you can build wealth in many different ways, through real estate ownership, through small business ownership, through investment, through inheritance, and then through the lotto, right? So I'm going to concentrate on the small business ownership and commercial real estate. So the 504 program, which is the purchase and refinance of commercial real estate and fixed assets such as large equipment. The SBA provides up to 90% financing for you to purchase a building for your business to occupy. Rates are right around the low 3s today. They're historic lows, and you can get a 25-year fixed rate, fully amortized loan for around 3.25% to purchase the commercial real estate that you're currently renting or to move into for your small business. The 7A program is for commercial real estate and everything else. To start a business, to expand a business, to purchase a franchise, to buy equipment, to buy inventory, to start a new location. It is kind of a catch-all. And that loan is used, in many different ways, and we're going to talk about one specific. And then there's the Community Advantage program, and that loan program is up to about $250,000, and is really designed more for the startup business, the businesses that the banks aren't really comfortable because they don't have a track record. Maybe it's a new concept, it's a new business. You don't have a lot of track record or time in business where a bank would be more comfortable. And so that program is very, very effective. It goes up to 250. The 7A program can go up to 5 million. And then the 504 program can go up to 20 million to purchase commercial real estate. We can't hear you, Karen.
I'm on mute. So if I want an SBA loan, if I think, where do I go? How do I get started? And how do I know whether it should be an SBA loan or just a regular loan for me?
So you want to talk to your banker, your relationship banker, whoever is doing your business banking, or if you haven't started your business yet, you might want to reach out to your personal banker to ask questions and let them know what you're planning to do. And before I, kind of tip the hat over to Colette to talk about how the SBA can help you with kind of the services and the training you might need to start a business, I really want to let people know about rebuilding wealth in the Black community. And that is about specifically SBA 7A program for business acquisition. We are in a time frame where many baby boomers are starting to retire. And as they retire, they have to, basically get rid of their business, and they can either close it down, they can sell it, or they can give it away. Well, if you work for one of those businesses where the owners are starting to think about retiring, the SBA can help you purchase that business from the retiring owner, and we can finance up to 90%. And so instead of thinking about how I can start a business, the other opportunity you have is actually to acquire an existing business. And I've done that myself. 8 years ago, I bought one of my clients, and it was very exciting and a great opportunity. My partner worked for my client, and so my client wanted to retire, and then so we got our money and purchased the business and became business owners 8 years ago. And so this is a really easy way of getting into business ownership without, a tremendous financial risk, right? Because you only have to come up with 10% down. And if you're buying it from the owner, he can actually carry back, he or she can carry back 5% of that. So you can actually come in with as little as 5% down to purchase a business. But when you're coming in and thinking about doing something like this, we really want to utilize the SBA's training arm and its small business development centers. And this is kind of where I would like to tip a hat to Colette Moore, my friend and my colleague, somebody that I've worked with for quite some time, and we refer business back and forth depending on the size of the loan. So I'll give my time up to Colette.
Well, good morning again. And Mark, thank you so much for sharing that. Mark is definitely a partner with us, referring people that can use help actually along the way. And so I'm going to share just a few things with you right now. And I'm hoping that this is going to work and that you can see something on the screen in just a second. All right. So the key thing here is that, the SBDC is an arm of the SBA. We are partners with the Small Business Administration. We are funded by them as well. And so it's a great opportunity for us to be able to work with you. There are 1,000 centers in the United States. And so there's no place really that you can go. There are even rural locations. Of course, we're focused on urban areas primarily, but the goal is to stimulate economic activity and growth. We want businesses to grow, and we want you to be sustainable. And so we are one of those partners that's able to do that. So we're providing business consulting for you, training, resources. Anybody that has been with us during the pandemic, it's been like a fire hose of information, but we have been, netting that down to provide it to small businesses in a way that isn't overwhelming in a period when there's a lot of information and it is overwhelming. And so providing business planning, management, legal, and workshops, all of this at no charge to you. This is a no cost program. What an amazing thing. So it doesn't mean it's no cost, but it is no charge to you because there is a focus on helping businesses. And, at PCR, our goal has always been to help underserved businesses. We work in the Black community significantly to help small businesses along the way. So even now, if you're a small business, we might be helping you with reopening strategies, advising on disaster funding, Now, what do you do post pandemic? So maybe you got disaster funding or you got the PPP. Have you applied for forgiveness? Because that's the whole point, is to get forgiveness so it's not a loan, but a grant. Have you found other forms of money that you need? How are you going to spend the money that you have now? How can you cut back on some of your costs and things like that? So we want to be in that position to help you. So we do the one-on-one advising. So that could be anything from startup. And I love, Mark, thank you for sharing that it doesn't have to be a startup. It can be a startup for you, but it's a purchase from someone else. And that can ease some of the pain if you've done your due diligence to make sure that it's the right business purchase for you. Licenses and permits. We want to make sure that you're legal along the way. How do you hire? Where can you find loans? And then also government contracts. And then we're continuing to offer business planning. We do a commercial lease checklist because during the pandemic, we found that our clients all throughout the area, South LA, also, people could not manage their leases. And so it depends on how your lease is created in the first place. And so you really want to know what's in that commercial checklist and never be in a hurry to sign. Make sure you have options. We're talking about startups and marketing and social media, financial management. And then we also work on procurement, because there are opportunities with larger organizations that we want to be able to share with you. And through the pandemic, because of our interest in this financial freedom, we have put together a financial fitness program for small businesses. It's a wonderful program. We have had 3 cohorts are now in progress. You'll do an assessment, but learn about profit and loss statements, balance sheets, cash flow, and then also financial analysis. So one of the things we've been saying is if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And I will say that as what I thought to be, I thought I was a really smart business owner, but as I'm coming to find out, I could have known my numbers even better to help me manage the business that I had even more successfully. And so there are opportunities here. We are doing one-on-one advising, helping you to get your financial systems. Do you know the cost of your business services or the cost of the products that you're delivering? If you're a restaurant, do you know the cost of the ingredients and the products that you're making? If you're a service, do you really understand what your costs are so that you could do a bid or a proposal well? Let us be able to assist you with that. We also have a restaurant academy. And part of that is because so many of our Black and Hispanic businesses actually own restaurants. It seems like an easy business to get into, but it's a tough business. And so we have 2 advisors here to help you with everything from getting through a LA health inspection, how to plan food trucks and things like that. So all of these resources are available to you. And here is a list of our resources and webinars. So many more here to count. We have a food truck focus coming up. For those that might already have a food truck, want to get more, or have a restaurant and want to expand, want to buy a food truck, maybe an existing business already, but let us be able to help you. So my number is here, or our number for our office is here. We are currently working remotely, but this is an opportunity for financial freedom. Get the resources, get help. That is really key. Don't be afraid to get the help that you need. I had learned so much working and I still made mistakes. And so we want you to minimize your mistakes and optimize every opportunity that you have for your business. And so, Karen, I'm turning it back over to you. That's just a little bit on PCR, SBDC. And I hope that the audience here will share about these free services to your business.
Thank you so much, Colette. And let me just share something with the audience. As I said, I am on the board of PCR, but I was a client before in the past. As a matter of fact, probably 16 years ago, when my late husband and I started a business. It was trucking, dry goods in 48 states. And we purchased some trucks, me, him, and his brother, and hired some drivers and, got some contracts and began business. And I said, somebody better go to class. Now, I wasn't, I helped with the financing. And, I'm the wife. I helped with the financing. I had a regular job, but I helped get the loan, for the trucks. I was on the promissory note. And I said, somebody better go to class and learn how to run a business. the office part of it, the bookkeeping part of it, the logistical
Yes.
part of it, right? And they were busy. So I said, well, I'll go because I'm going to be liable if anything happens. And
Yes.
so I went to PCR, and at the time, audience, I took a suite of courses that was taught on Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9, and it was a 12-week course. And I was so doggone serious about that. And I learned everything that I needed to know to actually, establish and get a business going from the ground up, even though we had already opened our doors, right? And we didn't need funding anymore at that time. We had already taken care of that. But let me tell you how good God is and how the universe works. So I took those classes, 12 weeks of classes, 6 hours a week. And then I went to Hesperia. I set up our office exactly as I had learned. I set up our books exactly as I had learned. I did everything that I had learned in PCR. And it wasn't 3 or 4 months later that the Department of Transportation knocked on our doors. A complaint had been filed against our company by one of the drivers. She said we didn't pay her for dropping the load, which we didn't pay her for dropping the load because she didn't drop the load. She abandoned the truck and the load, and we had to take care of that issue. But anyway, the Department of Transportation at the time, they actually review every single complaint. And this guy showed up at our office in Hesperia with his, calculators, with all his equipment, and he stayed for 2 days. He stayed for 2.5 days. And he went through our entire office in order to investigate this complaint. And we came out victorious. We did have a few fines that had nothing to do with that case. And we had to pay a few fines. We weren't drug testing on the right, cycle. We weren't drug testing our drivers. And there was a few other small infractions. But because we had gone to PCR, you know what he told us when he came after he finished the audit? He said, when I walked into the office and saw the way that it was organized, when I saw the way the books were organized, I knew that you all would probably be victorious because it was evident to me that you were taking great care to do things properly. And had I not gone to those classes, let me tell you, probably would have been shut down because there were so many things that were not taken care of properly. So thank you, Colette. Thank you for that. I'm not only, I'm a client. I'm a
client. Absolutely.
I donate my personal money. I donate to causes that I believe in. So thank you very much. And so do we have Miss Yolanda with us? I'm looking for the picture. Do I see her? Yes, yay. We have Miss Yolanda McClinton, and you are right on time, my dear. You're not late. You are not late or anything. You are right on time. We have talked about credit today, and Eric gave us a mouthful, but people are going to follow up with him. Because I know that there are a lot of people on this phone that would like to pursue home ownership. And so we're not done with you, Eric. I hope you haven't gone anywhere. But we know there are people on this phone, they want to pursue entrepreneurship. They want to pursue our business ownership, and they definitely want to pursue home ownership. Yolanda, we have talked a little bit in the opening about how much how much land increases our wealth, increases our net worth. But I want you, I want you to talk about who you are and what you do. And I want you to tell us why you're passionate about this subject. And then I have a couple more questions for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to join each of you today. I'm happy to see Eric Clay. This is a long-term relationship. And so while I currently work for Neighborhood Housing Services of Los Angeles County, my tenure expands over 20 years in the nonprofit world, helping newer first-time home buyers make that dream of homeownership a reality. And at one point, I did work with Operation Hope, and Eric Clay was my manager. So kudos to that. So listen, the seat that you sit in today, I've sat there before. Trying to maneuver and figure out what to do and how to get started and what opportunities are available. And the reason why I'm passionate about it is because I've shifted from just being a counselor to actually being a life and financial coach. And if you can actually help others answer their own questions about what's important, what's their so that. I want to buy a house so that. You'll find out that your so that is so much bigger than just you. It's about creating generational wealth or creating a legacy and leaving something for the next generation. And what a great time to talk about that on a day of celebration as we talk about Juneteenth and the struggle and what we've been through. Just a little bit of background. My family is actually from Oklahoma. So when we just celebrated that 100 years about Black Wall Street and about the devastation that occurred there, I want you to understand that it's important to me to let you know that it's possible. Don't think that homeownership is just for someone else. It's possible for each and every one of us. It might take some time, some commitment, some sacrifice, but I want you to know that if others have done it, you can do it too. And we're all here. All of us that are on this panel today are here to help you realize that the dream of homeownership or to start your own business, creating that wealth, it's all possible. So I'm excited to be here.
You're on mute, Karen A. Good to see you, Yolanda.
Hey, good to see you too, Eric.
Thank you.
By the way, I'm part of the Operation Hope Club. I worked there for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. But
it's a family reunion.
Yeah.
So how do you get started on the home buying process? What if you've never bought one? I'm just tuning in for the first time today to listen to you. What do I do?
Great. So what to know before you buy. So Erica's gave great information about credit, but let me just back up a little bit. Listen, we live here in Southern California, and this is considered one of the highest housing markets across the nation. And what you pay for is a lifestyle here. So you've got opportunities here to go to the beach, go to the mountains, go to the desert. You could do some of those all in the same day. And then people come here like a land of opportunity, looking for great jobs or start businesses. And you pay for this lifestyle, perfect weather, all of that. So I'd say to you, and you might not be in our chat, but what's an average price of a home? I'm sure you guys have talked about that. So we're talking $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $900,000. And when we mention numbers, that seems small enough. But when you start to say it's $500,000 or it's $750,000, it seems like astronomical and it's out of your reach. But with some assistance, it's still achievable. So how much can you actually afford? Well, not only are housing prices expensive, rent is expensive. So the majority of us are paying $2,000, $2,300, $2,500 or more for rent. And some of those are just 1 or 2 bedrooms. So wouldn't it be a better investment to put money towards something that's yours that could create some equity that you could then take and make a different investment later on in life? Something to think about. And here's my first point. Your first house is not always your dream house, but it is your first investment. So it helps you get started, right? So let's talk about some things. Affordability. We know it's expensive. There's no box. Let's not even talk about outside the box. The box doesn't even exist. It's what you create. So when you talk about credit, which Eric covered, right? And then we talk about income, and then we talk about savings. So I want to back up just for a second for you as first-time home buyers about that credit. Credit is important, but it's more than just a number. So he's talked about the length of credit, the variety of credit. But here's the number one thing that we see that's one of the largest challenges with credit in qualifying for a home: student loans. Let's talk about that. So most of us have gone to school to get a degree, to make more money, to be able to compete, only to find out that when the lenders are looking at our profile, the student loans are creating a barrier. Because if we've got $75,000, $100,000, $150,000 in student loans, which I see every day, right? Most of the lenders are now saying, if you're in an income-based repayment plan, they're not accepting it. So they're calculating 1% of your student loans, the total amount of debt, as a monthly payment, which is absolutely ridiculous. So we'll talk more about that, but I want you to just understand that student loans do have a part in all of this. Now, income. Sometimes our income just doesn't stretch quite far enough for us to compete in this market. I think one of it is because a lack of inventory. So we're seeing housing prices in the ranges that we just mentioned, right? But how do we get there? So when we look at income, what can be used? Pretty much everything can be considered as income except for unemployment and short-term disability. So if you've got a regular wage earner job, perfect. If you have multiple streams of income, maybe you do taxes at the beginning of the year, or Postmates or Uber driver or something else, all of those can be considered. But the additional streams of income or the part-time job has to be something that's been reported on your taxes for the last 2 years, because we need to average it out. So we can use your regular income, and then we can use additional streams as long as it's reported. So here's just a little tip, and you talk to your tax preparer about this. Oftentimes, they try to help assist you by not having to pay as many taxes back to the government by either depreciating or the cost of goods and services, something that reduces. So you could have earned $30,000 in additional income, wrote off $20,000, which means you really had a net income of $10,000 for the additional job. $10,000 is all I can count. So if you're thinking about using that additional income towards your home ownership qualifications, make sure you're having that good conversation with your tax preparer and what you're doing so that you can maximize the amount of income that you're actually claiming so that we can count it. Now let's talk about savings. So you've got to have some skin in the game. This doesn't just happen where somebody offers you 100% financing and you can just sign the documents and walk in the door. You have to participate in this. So most of the programs for new or first-time home buyers that we offer from Neighborhood Housing Services gives you an opportunity to come in with as little as 3% down towards the purchase. So it's 3% of the purchase price. If the purchase price is $400,000, you need to have $12,000 of your own funds. $500,000, $15,000 of your own funds. Now, this money can come from different sources. It can be checking, savings, an investment account, your 401k or 403b. All of those are acceptable sources of income. Now, don't go and start to move your money around at this point. All they'll ask for is a copy of the bank statement to show that you do have funds available. If you don't have money saved at this point, that doesn't prohibit you from getting started and joining the program. It just makes me know that that's one of the action steps that we're going to create to help you accomplish that part of the goal, so that when you're ready to get pre-approved, all the boxes are checked, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and you're ready to proceed. So credit, first of all. Income is the second thing, and then savings is the next thing. So while there are various types of financing available, you might be familiar with FHA where they require a 3.5% down. Sometimes there are programs that will allow you to come in with as little as 1%. Now, that's a lot easier to come up with than 3%. So how great is that if you could do $4,000 or $5,000 towards the investment? So those are a few perks. Let me move on to something else. Gifts. What if somebody wanted to partner with you and say, I'm going to help you get this house. We're going to offer you some assistance, family or friends, for the down payment. Gifts are totally acceptable after your initial 3%. Why is that? Lenders want to see that you've been disciplined over time, that you've prepared for this purchase. And they want to see that if you've been disciplined enough to save over a period of time, once you get in that house, that same discipline will continue. Because now when things start to fall apart and break down, whose responsibility is it? It's yours. You can no longer call the landlord and ask them to come and fix the hot water heater or do some plumbing. Now it's your responsibility. But if you've been good about saving or putting some money aside for emergencies, then when those things come up, you're already prepared. So my question is, if it's income that you're concerned about, or credit or savings, what'd you do with that stimulus check? Because a lot of us got money earlier this year and maybe last year too. So was that money for pleasure and enjoying, or did you, in your quest to buy a house, say, I'm going to set some of this money aside to start my savings for my down payment? Just something to think about, okay? Instead of us just spending. But here's the big takeaway from all of this and what you want to know. There is money out there to help assist you in purchasing. Most of the programs are considered down payment assistance. I say they should be called gap financing, because what they do is they close the gap between how much you can afford and how much the purchase price is. So for the most part, if I've got lots of clients that are qualifying in maybe high 300,000s, low 400,000 and saying, I still can't find anything in that price range. But if there's a program that could offer you up to, wait for it, $100,000 in assistance that I can layer on top of what you qualify for, now I've got you in the high 400s, low 500 range. Could you possibly compete and find something out there? It would definitely give you a better chance because there are multiple offers made on each property now. And so there's lots of competition. And so let me just kind of give you a heads up. Unfortunate for some, but a benefit for you that are listening. Over the next 4 to 6 months, we're probably going to see an increase in inventory. You might say, yay, I'm kind of on the fence with this. A number of people have not been able to recover from the pandemic, and therefore they're having to make some other choices about transitioning out of their properties. Now, this is not to say the housing prices are going to go down because the market is pretty stable, but this is saying that if they have not been able to gain employment again or at the same rate, they might have to consider some other alternatives. And if selling the property is one, then that gives more inventory available out there for you as new or first-time home buyers. So we've got great programs. The County of Los Angeles offers $100,000. The City of Compton is offering $100,000. The City of Los Angeles is offering $90,000. And then sometimes there are grants that are $15,000, $20,000 that can help even cover closing costs. So it's a lot of information to give you right now, but here's how you can get more. We offer a workshop for new or first-time home buyers twice a week. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. or Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. They're virtual via Zoom. They're absolutely free. They last for about 35, 45 minutes, and it gives you more information and tools to be able to use, and then we'll walk you through some next steps. So if you want to know more, you can easily go to our website, and I'll put it in the chat. It's nhslacounty.org. Again, it's nhslacounty.org. Click on events and workshops. You'll see a calendar and you can go there and look for 10 a.m. It's called Hope Workshop, or you can look for it on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. That's the best thing I can tell you. The possibility exists. You can do it. I'm excited for you, and I hope to see a lot of you in the workshops.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Yolanda. And let me just say, for those of you that are on the phone and you're not in LA, Neighborhood Housing Services is a national organization, right? And so in your own city, just start Googling. Google NHS, Google home buying workshops, Google down payment assistance.
NW.org. NW.org.
NW.org. Call your United Way. Ask them, see, information is out there. We have to seek the information. We have to go find the information. Help and support is out there. Mark Morales talked about all of the different opportunities with the SBA, sba.gov. Start searching around, and when you see something that piques your interest, dig further. Give me a call if you have some questions for Mark Morales. And you know what? I'm actually not scared to give my phone number. I do it quite often because guess what? Hardly anybody ever calls me. But my phone number is 213-673-9124 is my office number. If you call me and you're looking for some information, I will make sure that you get it. I will make sure that you are connected to any of these people on the phone or their counterparts in other cities. Operation Hope is also a national organization. The SBDC, which is Small Business Development Center, SBDC system that PCR is a part of, is national. It's throughout the state of California. You have such things in your own counties, in your own regions. And so get in touch with me if you can't find them, and I will make sure that you are hooked up. Mr. Eric Clay, again, his organization is national. He works nationally. All you got to do is give him a phone call. Now, let's get to Miss Toni Jackson. Miss Toni Jackson is one of my favorite bankers in all the world because let me tell you something. She will help you find the information that you need. Toni is one of my favorite people. She works with me at City National Bank because Toni is more interested in helping a person than she is in trying to sell them a product or a service. And so what we want to talk to you about today with Miss Toni Jackson is really what should you expect in a bank? Banks have had somewhat of a shady history and past with Black folks. I mean, there's no need to cover up the news or the story. It's all public information. Banks finance slavery. Banks finance plantations. Banks financed insurance for, dead slaves who didn't make it all the way across the ocean. And then, banks have been complicit, if you look at the research, in charging more, in the past for, credit products and that sort of thing. But all your banks are trying to step up. Every bank that is regulated by a federal agency has obligations to the community. They have investment obligations to the community. They have financial education obligations to the community. And if you don't have a relationship with your bank, if you don't know how to get those services, you need to figure it out. So, Toni, we at City National Bank say that we are a relationship bank. What on earth does that mean? How come we just can't say we're a bank, but we say we are a relationship bank? What does that mean?
Well, Karen, let's define relationship. When you're in a great relationship, it shows that you're committed and you have a future together. And that's exactly our goal here at City National Bank. We believe that first impressions are lasting impressions. Therefore, we have no solo flights. We have a team of subject matter experts when we set appointments with prospects and clients alike. And our relationship starts with the team at the onset, which sets us apart from most banks and financial institutions. We add value to our clients as they establish additional products and services. And for doing so, we reward them with better pricing and benefits.
Yeah, so that's what I found out when I came to work at City National Bank, because I had never actually worked for a true relationship bank. And I worked for many, many big banks. But when I came here and I found out, your pricing depends on the relationship that you have with the bank.
Absolutely.
Well, that's very interesting. And that's why, we don't go out to Crenshaw and say, come over here and get a checking account for $1. It's all about the relationship. We're not out. And so what I would tell you, everybody, we're not saying you need to bank with City National Bank. We're saying you need to have a relationship with your bank. And so, Toni, you've worked with various bank brands just as I have. Most banks have the same products and services to varying degrees. So really, what makes the difference when you're looking for a bank? What's the difference?
So while there are several identifying factors that differentiate banks, one of the most important is the relationship you have with your banker. Your banker is your voice. Your banker is your advocate. They will negotiate for you better rates on credit products. In addition, your banker tells your story. They tell it to the decision maker, they tell it to the underwriters, when you yourself have no access to either. Your banker should know your financial histories and your goals. That happens over a period of time. You must remember that you are entitled to benefits and services, not just from your bank, but also from your banker. So if you don't have an individual banker advocating for you, you're missing out on a lot of products and services that might be well within your scope of purchase, namely home ownership. So the more products and services you have with City National Bank, we reward you for those relationships that you've established with us. The interest rate can come down where you can afford that home that Eric was speaking about earlier.
Now, let me ask you this. Is one of those products and services a PPP loan? Were your clients able to get PPP loans?
So on Crenshaw, we're at 3739 Crenshaw Boulevard. off Coliseum. We had over 78 business owners that had the first round of PPP, and we had 39 on the second round. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you were not able, a lot of businesses that were not able to get a PPP loan is because they were not able to get in touch with their bank. It's because they only had an 800 number, or they only had a website or URL for a link to a portal where they could apply if they could get through. And so that's one of the fundamental differences of just being with a bank and having a relationship with a bank. You will know you would not have had that issue. And I would tell you, no matter where you bank, just go there and tell them you need some information. You're looking for a relationship with your banker so that you can start to figure out how to optimize your accounts, how to start looking for the types of accounts that will help you to grow your wealth. You're looking for information. I teach financial education for Bill Dukes Media Foundation, and it's a 12-week class. And so we have lots of time. And what I tell the students, when you choose a bank, especially if you're a young person, one of the best ways to choose a bank is to walk into several of them, several different bank brands, and just tell them, I'm looking for some information. I'm a student of financial education. I want to ask you if I can ask a few questions, and see how they make you feel. Because if they don't make you feel like they are interested in you, that's probably not the bank for you. It's the same for everybody. You want to be with a bank that values what you have to offer and that wants to help you grow that. Now, one of the things that Miss Yolandra said was, she talked about savings indirectly. She asked, if you got a stimulus check, did you save any of it? And one of the things that's going to help increase your credit, it's going to help increase your opportunity to purchase a home or purchase a business, as Mr. Mark Morales talked about, is that cash money, your skin in the game. And one of the things that I know many of you have heard throughout your life around saving discipline is to save 10%, to pay yourself first. And it doesn't, if you create that discipline with every dollar that you have, it doesn't matter how hard the time get, you will still save something. It's a discipline, a lifelong discipline that you must have. But that's what you need if you want to increase your economic opportunity, increase your stature. You've got to build that nest egg. And speaking of savings, the next time we have some crazy pandemic or something that shuts us down for a year or two, you're going to be a whole lot more comfortable if you have developed that habit of saving, have something in the bank for an emergency. It's so extremely important. Mr. Mark Morales, I want to get back to you for just a moment, because when you talked about, we spent a lot of time talking about either working with your bank or working with PCR in order to start a business. But you mentioned this notion, and you talked for a minute about purchasing a business as a way to grow wealth. I'd like to get back to that, because I don't hear just regular folks talking about that a lot. I hear about that at much bigger levels of business, right? In commercial banking, I hear about that. And I think that is such an interesting notion. How does that work? If I see a business that I want to, how would I qualify? How would I even pursue that if I know a business is for sale? Say it's just it's $1 million. It's $1 million. How would I go about even exploring that opportunity with a lender?
Well, you first would have a conversation with your banker. But really, when it comes to business acquisition and purchasing an existing business, what we're looking for that loan is, does that business make enough money to make that loan payment? So you don't need to own a business today to be able to purchase a business. We didn't own a business. I mean, I worked for the bank, and my partner worked for the business, but we weren't even looking to buy a business. It just happened to be that the owner wanted to retire and made us an offer that we couldn't refuse. So first I would look at, what is your skill set? What are you good at, right? Or if you were working for a business and you're managing that business, then maybe that's the business that you might be looking to purchase, or one in that same industry. The idea is that we're going to look for a couple of different things when we're looking at a business acquisition to do a loan. We're going to look, number one, does that business have enough money and does it spit off enough cash to make our new loan payment? And number two, we're going to look to see whether you taking over that business have the experience to run that business. So, experience in the industry, experience in a similar industry. If the owner of the business was going to look to sell the business to me, I had no experience in selling Asian antiques, right, to interior designers, but my partner did. So that was the management experience. So if you're going to purchase a business, and it could be a franchise, it could be somewhere you work, it could be something you've seen, you want to make sure that you either have the experience to be able to run that business, or you're going to keep on the management structure or the key employees that will run that business for you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Ms. Colette Moore, does PCR offer any information about business acquisition?
Absolutely. It's kind of funny. We actually have a franchise workshop that we do as well. So it could be not just a business acquisition, but it could be the purchase of a franchise, or it could be an existing franchise. So that's one of the areas that we focus on, so that people have options, because there's not only one way to get into business. And I think I love what Mark says. It helps to have experience, because that is favorable for bankers that you work with and your suppliers and everybody in the system that is going to be supporting you when you have experience working in a business. It certainly can help you, I think, along the way.
Beautiful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 minutes left. So what I would like to do is go back to the top. I'm going to ask Eric Clay one more question, and then I would like you just to remind people how they can get a hold of you. But Eric,
yeah.
Heard from Yolandra on purchasing a home. We've heard from Mark and Colette on business, starting a business and business acquisition. So how does interest rate works, and how will it help me to get a better deal based on my credit? Well, what's the tie-in there? Like, what if I had a 700 credit score and I'm trying to purchase a business, but my friend has a 750 credit score. They're trying to purchase the exact same business. Everything else is equal. Both have the same down payment. Are one of us going to be favored possibly by a lender?
Well, the higher, I alluded to it, the higher the credit score, the more attractive you are to the person who's giving you the money, okay?
Why?
So, because they pose a lesser risk based on the way they manage their credit. Remember, I said life controls credit, credit doesn't control life, okay? Within that story, something might have happened. Yolandra made perfect example of a lot of folks might not be able to recover as quickly as they want as we went through this pandemic, or as we still going through this pandemic. So they're gonna be, now the credit bureaus don't care. They're looking at black and white numbers. They're not really looking at the story or the narrative of that person verbally. They're just looking at what they see. So that 750 is going to be more attractive than that 700, and that 700 is going to be more attractive than that 650. But here's the thing, it's real basic. The higher the credit score, the lower the interest rate. The lower the interest rate, less money you pay on that mortgage, that small business loan, that car note. For example, you have a car, $17,000, throwing a number out there. Interest rates 2 to 3%. Car note's about $200 and some odd dollars. Interest rates about 12%. Car note's going to be about $400. Same car, same mileage, same look, same model, different interest rate, different credit score. And that's why you want your credit score to be as highest as you can, so you can get the lowest possible interest rate out there. Okay?
Thank you. Tell us again how to get a hold of you.
I am at operationhope.org. I am Eric Clay. My number is, I'll put it in the chat, is 213-422-6115. I am happy to be going back to campus at Compton. That's where I sit. So I'm real close to where Yolandra is, and Compton College. And get a hold of me. Our services are at no cost. Really. We are not credit repair. Excuse me. I'm credit counseling, credit advising. I'm going to give you my opinion, but I've been doing this and I want to see everybody to be where they want to be. And remember, it's never too late, once again, to start this. Don't think, I have my credits just messed up or challenged and I can't do it. No, it starts with one good credit line. That's like watering the flowers. Let one flower grow and you'll have a garden soon.
Thank you, Eric Clay. Miss Yolanda McClinton, tell us again how to get a hold of you.
So I'm with Neighborhood Housing Services of Los Angeles County. So you can reach us at NHS. The main
it's in the chat. And Mr. Thank you.
Okay. Phone number 213-381-2862. Can I just close with this quote?
Yep.
Okay. If your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. Remember, you need a budget.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get into that. All right, Mr. Mark Morales, how to get a hold of you again?
You can reach me at area code 310-888-6864. That's my direct line to my office. I am working in the bank in Century City. And you can also reach me at mark.morales@cnb.com.
Thank you, Mark. And Miss Toni Jackson, how do we get a hold of you? While we're waiting for Toni. Oh, there she is.
Hi, I can be reached at area code 323-761-5903. And my email address is toni.jackson@cnb.com.
Thank you, Miss Jackson.
Thank you.
And Miss Colette Moore. Colette Moore. Well, the organization is PCRcorp.org. O-R-G. Oh, there she is.
And you can reach me at our SBDC line at 213-674-2696 and also at info@pcrsbdc.org.
Thank you, everybody. You all were fabulous. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks,
Audience, I am
Karen.
Karen Clark, the City National Bank. Thank you, Greg Johnson with Hannibal Media. We're out. Happy freedom!
Freedom!
Bye, everyone.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Take care.
Freedom.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Great time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.